Hey, hello everyone. It's Dr. B from Steps to the Future. It is wonderful to be back here with you for our college and career conversations. Um, as you know, I've rebranded to C3 with Dr. B. So we're talking about, I like to talk about, career awareness, career development, and career exploration. And people say, okay, so what does that have to do with going to college? Well, when you graduate from college, you're going to work. So it's all connected. It's really important that students understand the connection between their education and their work life and everything else that's going on in this world. So this evening, I'm really happy, I think, or thrilled just to bring you some up to date information on the UNC system. One of the things I love to do is to do research and just find out what is going on in the state I live in, sometimes in other states. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the UNC system, you know that it is one of the most popular state systems in the country. There are 16 public colleges and universities in the UNC system, some of them more well known than others, but all equally good and all a good fit for a variety of students. So this evening, as I said, want to talk to you about some of the changes that are coming about. I will give you a few seconds, few minutes to go and grab a cup of water. Make sure you have your note-taking instruments out, whether it's typing up some notes, whether it's just sitting back listening, because as you know, this is going to be available to you on my Facebook page and also on my YouTube channel. So you can always go back and listen to it. So let's get this started in a couple of seconds. So that's just to remind you of what I do, Dr. B, college and career counselor, where my goal is to help families eliminate random acts of college planning. So keep that in mind. So again, starting this today, let me just move on to, I have to have a PowerPoint because if I don't, I'll ramble. So it really helps me stay organized. So just let me get here. Let me share the screen with you. Here we go. Let's see, screen sharing. I actually don't want that one. I want this one. There we go. So this is going to be an update on the UNC system. Just some information that I was reading the last couple of days. And I said, oh, this might be some good stuff to share with folks out there who are interested perhaps in applying to the UNC system sometime in the future. But before I begin doing that, let's look at, let's see if we can, this will do this. I always like to ask my students these two questions, and I thank my colleague and friend Ethan Sawyer for this. Ethan, for those of you who don't know him, is known as the college essay guy, and would always ask questions about that make you think about you. So this is something that I do now with my students, and they know to expect to answer these questions. So just as you're sitting there, think about it. And if you're here and you're listening, whether it's on the replay or whether it's live, put your answers in the chat because I'd love to see what you're thinking. So, what are you grateful for today? So this is a question I think, with all that's going on in the world and all the trials and tribulations and the other things that we see going on in this world, it's really important every day to express gratitude for whatever it is. Sometimes it may be for, I woke up today. It may be I have food on the table. There are days when I'm grumping about getting up early and I'm like, my God, I have a bed to get up out of. I have a roof over my head. I'm going to work out. I have the privilege of going to work out with someone. So there is so much for us to be grateful for. So today I am grateful for the people in my life that do help me practice self-care. So that's, my second question I ask all of my students. What are you doing for self-care? I am grateful for Samantha Jones Tao, who is my personal trainer. I am grateful for the privilege of being able to work with her on my self-care. I also, for my self-care, I am a member of an adventure group. I recently joined. So joined, I think, just before Christmas, and we've gone on 3 adventures. And you'll see a couple of pictures of some of those. So I'm grateful for those people for starting the community, for Keith Sykes for starting the community, and for the people who are part of the community. One of the things I'm also grateful for is my colleague Jim Peaks. So Jim Peacock, excuse me, Jim Peacock of Peak Careers. One of the things that Jim does on an annual basis is he chooses 3 words for his intentions for the year. My 3 are on the board in the back. I don't know if you could really see them back there. Let me see if we can see them a little better with this. So they are grace, play, and community. And all of the things that I am grateful for and practicing self-care all use those 3 words. So if you have anything that you'd like to add to the conversation, throw it in the chat. I'd love to have that conversation with you. So with that being said, let's move on. So grace, play, and community. Here are my 3 words, and here are my 3 words in action. So you get to see some great pictures. The outdoors pictures are photos that have been taken from our adventure club. It's called Life's a Trip, Faye and C. And we've been going to state parks in the western part of North Carolina. For any of you that are in North Carolina, you recognize this picture. This is Hanging Rock, and I'm hanging from that rock. Now, it's not as perilous as it looks, but if you jump down and then move a few feet over, yes, it's quite a way down the side of that mountain. Here at one of the beautiful falls that we had the opportunity to visit. Here's our group with our group leader. And, here's another group photo of us sitting on top of one of the things. So again, giving myself grace when I don't do things the way I think I should do them, giving others grace when they're not their best or whatever's, I don't know what's going on in their life. And then playing in community. I had to put in this picture here because, again, being grateful for having the privilege of working with Samantha. She keeps me in shape, and I'm really grateful for her presence in helping me stay healthy. Okay. So the information that I am going to go over with you today, you can find this document at that bit.ly address. So if you want to take time to quickly get it down and go ahead and pull this up. But this is where the information comes from. So a lot of times, people put information out there and they go, what's your source of information? Where did you get that from? What's the reference that you used? So this is the reference. These are the minutes from a meeting of the Board of Governors, in particular, the Committee on Educational Planning, Policies, and Programs. And as you can see, it's from November 16th. And it was live streamed on PBS North Carolina because it was all by video conference. So again, if you want to go back and check some of the numbers or check some of the information, this is where you can find that information that I'm going to share with you right now. So this is one of the charts that is in this particular document. So what it's showing, as you can see from the title, is the UNC institution's total fall headcount enrollment from 2013 to 2022. And the source of this is from their fall enrollment report from November 16th of 2022. And you can see all of the 16 colleges and universities that are in the system. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the names of the 16, so ASU is Appalachian State University, ECU is East Carolina University, ECSU is Elizabeth City State University, and HBCU, one of the 10 HBCUs in North Carolina. FSU is Fayetteville State University, another HBCU. NCAT is North Carolina Agricultural and Technical University, which is another HBCU in North Carolina. It's also the largest HBCU in population in the country. NCCU is North Carolina Central University. Again, another HBCU located in Durham, North Carolina. North Carolina State University in Raleigh. UNCA is UNC Asheville. Then we have UNC Chapel Hill, UNC Charlotte, UNC Greensboro, UNC Pembroke, which is a land grant college that was found with the mission to serve First Peoples, Indigenous people. UNCW is UNC Wilmington. Then we have UNC School of the Arts. We have Western Carolina University, and then Winston-Salem State University, which is another HBCU in North Carolina. So looking at these numbers, you can see that there have been changes over the year. I'm going to highlight in the next slide some of the changes, particularly between fall of 2021 and fall of 2022. So as you can see here, 4 of the universities, if we're looking at these numbers, only 4 out of the 16 had an enrollment increase. If you look at the numbers, you see all of the other universities and colleges in the system lost students. Some, significant number, others not quite as significant, but they all lost enrollment. Their enrollment dropped from 2021 until 2022. And there are several reasons for that. Of course, COVID has changed everything in our landscape, not just in our higher ed landscape, but just in life in general. The demographics are changing. We also had less people attending community colleges, so therefore there were less people to transfer into these schools. So that's part of their enrollment goals, is also to offer admission to people who are transferring from a community college. So there are several reasons. And if you go into that report, it will talk a little bit more in detail about the speculation around why some of these changes have taken place. So keep that in mind. Those 4 are the only ones that were able to increase their enrollment. Now, everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, we talk in so much jargon in whatever field you're in. One of the most important things for colleges and universities is to meet their enrollment goals. So when they admit a certain number of students, they know all of those students are not going to be accepting their offer admission. However, based on algorithms they use, based on some of the work of enrollment managers, they have come up with formulas that help them predict how many students will yield. So that's the number of students that say yes to their offer of admission, that pay their enrollment fee, saying, I am coming to your school. So these 4 are the only 4 in the system between, the fall of 2021, when you look at enrollment numbers, and the fall of 2022 that had enrollment increases. So in particular, I want to talk about out-of-state enrollment, because that was one of the areas that was spoken about, that was written about in the minutes from that committee meeting. And that's important because North Carolina, is a state where there are caps on out-of-state students, legislative caps, and I'll go a little bit more into that. But this is what we saw happening. So North Carolina A&T enrolled, for the last couple of years, 41% of their students were from out of state. Now, people say, what? How did they do that? So remember, for some of you that are aware, North Carolina has a legislative cap of 18% on out-of-state students, but that there's an exception for some schools. North Carolina A&T is one of those schools. Their cap is 35%. So that 41%, by going over that from that 35% out-of-state students to 41%, that's actually 171 students. Because this was the second consecutive year that they went over their out-of-state cap, they were penalized So their state funding was decreased by almost $2 million. $2 million less that they received in state funding. I don't know how you feel about that, but I feel like, wow, colleges are already struggling, public universities and colleges, and then to lose more funding because you enrolled more students from out of state. I understand it's a state school and taxes go to pay for keeping everything up or helping to, because if you look at some of the research and some of the literature out there, the share of state funding has gone down quite a bit. So again, they were penalized almost $2 million. NC State, they're supposed to be at 18%. They went up to 19%. That's for a total of 71 students. Now, there was no penalty for them because it was not the second consecutive year where they did this. So again, and when you read the document, that's what it says. 2 consecutive years. But they did get a warning that if it happens again, when they look at numbers for this coming fall, that they'll be penalized. Right now, that's what the policy says. You know, it may be changed. UNC Wilmington, again, they were capped at 18%, but they went over by 44 students. And Western Carolina, another school that was capped at 18%, went over by 48 students. So again, 68 students. So again, NC State, UNC Wilmington, and Western Carolina were not financially penalized because they this was their first, well, it was not two, I shouldn't say it was their first year. They did not go over 2 consecutive years. So that's really important to remember. Just need to fix this thing on my laptop. Okay, so let's look at the next slide here. So when you go in and you read these minutes from these meetings, you will see that some changes are coming about for the fall of 2020, for this academic year 2023-2024. And you see I have it down there in red. It's really important that you understand that this is the change that is coming about for next year. So pay attention, because it's something that we will be looking for as time goes on. So let me just do this again. Thank you. Here we go. So you can see there have been some changes. Again, this is agenda item A7 of the November 16th meeting. So again, it's from the Board of Governors, and it's the Committee on Educational Planning, Policies, and Programs. This will be effective during this academic year. So remember, I told you, systems were capped. Colleges and universities in the UNC system have previously been capped at 18%. And you'll hear this on so many Facebook groups and people talking, out of state. But there are changes. And there have been changes, and there have been changes over time at certain universities. But this is what will be in place for this upcoming school year. So you can see that some schools have gone from 18% to 25% to 35% to 50%. The colleges that I have in red, this is new. This is new for them as of 2023-2024. The colleges that are not in red were already capped at the numbers that you see there. So starting with the 2023-2024 academic year, East Carolina, UNC Asheville, UNC Greensboro, UNC Pembroke, and Western Carolina will be joining Fayetteville State University, UNC Wilmington, and Winston-Salem University with out-of-state caps of 25%. Okay, so that means these colleges may have up to 25% of their admitted incoming class as out-of-state students. Okay, so that means that leaves room for 75% for in-state students. So think about that. And people might say, so what's the big deal? Well, colleges over time have been losing state funding, and colleges have to make up that money somewhere. So it may be raising tuition. It may be admitting or offering acceptance to more out of state students because there's a difference in the cost of attendance between an in state student and an out of state student at a public university. So, this is one way for colleges to make up the deficit from what they had previously been receiving from the state. So, it could be one of the things. And I really suggest that you, again, read this report, read other reports, read the reports from meetings from the colleges if it's available on their website. Um, North Carolina A&T and North Carolina Central, they were given permission, permission to go to 35% a while ago. So this isn't new for them. I want to say it might have been 2022 or maybe a little bit earlier than that. Now, you notice there's an asterisk next to North Carolina A&T's name. That's because that number does not include, that percentage of out-of-state students does not include undergraduate engineering students. Why is that there? It's actually, the information is actually something that the Board of Governors decided in January, way back in 2002. Now, I haven't gone back and read the documentation from that time, but throughout this document that I referenced in here, that's on the first slide, they did say that this was something that had been passed by the Board of Governors in 2002. For those of you who don't know, North Carolina A&T is probably one of the largest producers of Black engineers, if not the largest producers of Black engineers in the country. Very strong STEM school, outstanding programs, fabulous partnerships. So again, they did go 2 years in a row over their 35%, and that's why they were penalized almost $2 million. So again, they lost state funding because they accepted more students from out of state. Elizabeth City State University, for those that aren't familiar with Elizabeth City is about 60 miles from Norfolk, Virginia. I had the pleasure of visiting Elizabeth City State University last April, I want to say. Yeah, so about a year ago now. Great campus. It's an HBCU. One of the things I don't know if people really know is that they have a wonderful aviation program. It's like amazing. Affiliated with NASA, all kinds of opportunities for students to learn all areas of aviation. So if you have a student that's interested in aviation, I would check it out. So here's another thing about these schools that some people know and some people don't know. And I think most of the schools, I think all the schools, not all the schools, but 4 of the schools on this list are what we call NC Promise schools. NC Promise is a tuition reduction program that's offered at 4 states for in-state students and out-of-state students. So on that list, that's Fayetteville State University, UNC Pembroke, Western Carolina, and Elizabeth City State University. So what's the tuition break? For in-state students, tuition at these 4 colleges and universities is $500 a semester. Yes, 500 a semester. Now, of course, that doesn't include the cost of room and board and other fees, but the cost of tuition at Fayetteville State University, UNC Pembroke, Western Carolina, and Elizabeth City State University for in-state students is $500 a semester. For out-of-state students, it's $2,500 a semester. So look at some of these numbers. So you're thinking, okay, they just raised the out-of-state cap on some of these schools, on Pembroke and Western Carolina, 2 of the NC Promise schools. We already had Elizabeth City with a 50% out-of-state cap. and Fayetteville State University with a 25% out-of-state cap. So out-of-state students, you need to be checking into these schools to see if it's a good deal for you, if it's a good place for you, if it's a fit for you. Look at the programming, see what they have. What do they offer that will be to your benefit? Um, Check it out. I really hope you check it out. And again, anybody out there that if you're listening now live or if you're watching this on the replay, please make sure you comment, send in your questions. And go back and make sure you read the report. And again, the report is on the first slide of the official part of the presentation. So let's look at this next slide here. Okay, so one of the other things in the report that I think people should pay attention to, and we do hear a lot of conversation around the declining birth rate in the United States and how that's going to affect colleges and their enrollment goals in the years to come. So this chart, again, is in that report, and it's showing over time from 1992 with a prediction up through 2037 of what the birth declines are going to look like and what, graduation rates and what have you. So let's look at this. They're looking at the graduation rates and the projections. So we had, a low of 2.46 million, 2.46 million between 1992 and 1997, all the way up to a high of 3.93 million between 2022 and 2027. And we can see in the blue that this is going to be changing. There's going to be a decline in, as birth rates decline, we're going to see that's going to affect high school graduates, the number of high school graduates. So that's going to affect some colleges' bottom line because they do need to have students in those seats in order for their colleges to be successful and to thrive and to be able to stay in business. The source of this information is on the chart there. So this is from the Western Interstate Commission for Higher Education. The report is called Knocking at the College Door, 10th edition, and it was from 2020. So you will find podcasts where people are talking about declining enrollments and what that means to college enrollment. I know on Future You, Jeff Salingo and Michael Horn have talked about it. So you can go to that podcast and check it out. So here's the next thing that this means. This is another piece people need to pay attention to. Now, there's a lot of words on here, but I tried to highlight in yellow some of the information that I think is really important for you to pay attention to. So when these demographics change, it's not going to be felt equally across the states and regions of this country. There are some regions that are going to feel it more. It's going to impact them more than others in a negative way. In the coming decade, the substantial enrollment declines in the Northeast, all those New England states, Mid-Atlantic states, the declines in the Midwest and the West will cause colleges and universities in these regions to become more aggressive. Listen, more aggressive in recruiting students from the South, including North Carolina, because that the regional area of the South is not going to experience the population decline of high school students as other areas are. People still need to meet their enrollment goals. So this is something that's predicted, in the decades to come. So pay attention for those of you with the little ones who aren't yet ready for college, but will be having it on their radar in the future. Keep that in mind. When colleges start really recruiting students, and if they're doing it aggressively, it might be something like the Hunger Games. Who knows what it's going to be, but it's definitely going to be different. Definitely going to be different. So that's information I wanted to bring to you. So let me just really quickly, for people that may have just come on, let me go back the other way. Okay, that's not what I wanted to do. Yeah. Some days, you just kind of want to do things and you think they're supposed to do it the way you want them to do it. Okay. So let's go back to that first screen. In yellow, you see the link for the document that has the minutes from the meeting of the Board of Governors, in particular, that Committee on Educational Planning, Policies, and Programs from November 2022. Please make sure you go to this site and read the 32-page document and see some of the changes that are coming about. I only focused on one particular section, out-of-state enrollment, but I really think that it's important for people to have information so they can make informed decisions about their college futures. College is expensive and it's a family decision, so it's important to have really good information. So let me get back to the screen so you folks know that I love, love, love to read and always have a book recommendation for you. So the book I'm recommending, I have just started cracking the binding and reading it. So I actually saw participated or watched a webinar. We have so many opportunities now to do online learning. And I watched a webinar with the authors of this book talking about the relevance of HBCUs to American life and education. Both of the authors happen to be economists. So they talk about it from an economic point of view. So this is the book. This is what it looks like. It's always funny trying to make sure I'm holding this up right so people can actually see it. So Joseph Koch, he's a Board of Visitors professor of economics emeritus, and he's president emeritus of Old Dominion University. And then Omari Swinton is chair, director of graduate studies, and professor in the Department of Economics at Howard University. He is past president of the National Economics Association. This book is new. It was just published February of 2023 and by Columbia University Press. So I definitely think it's something that people should pick up, because we know that there has been increased interest in historically Black colleges and universities. And people, there are people who will say, well, are they relevant in this day and age? Because all colleges and universities do not discriminate. I don't know about that. I'm a big fan of HBCUs. I think they offer people an opportunity to study in a place where they feel safe and valued, and their culture is part of the atmosphere, strong communities, strong sense of community at HBCUs. So again, I really think that this is something that people need to pick up, read, flip through, look at the data, look what the two economists are saying about the relevance of HBCUs and why they're vital and valuable to America. So again, this is the name of the book. You can get it wherever you buy books. Speaking of HBCUs, I would be remiss if I did not briefly mention, because I'm going to do a little thing on this another week, about a recent tour I had the opportunity to take. So I got to visit. So last Monday, week ago today, I got to tour Howard University. I actually have this, I think, my third time touring Howard University, but this was the best time. Because when we were on campus and we had gone into the Chadwick A. Boseman College of Fine Arts, we had the pleasure, absolute the pleasure of running into Dean Felicia Rashad. I mean, I was fangirling all over the place, and I told everyone it was all I could do not to act silly and jump up and down and act like I was like a teenager seeing my favorite R&B star or something. She could not have been more generous with her time. more kind, more compassionate, more welcoming to our group. As you can see, there's a group photo. She orchestrated this group photo. She had us move to an area where she felt there was better lighting. And then she stood in the front of the group and made sure that everyone was in position so that they could be seen in the picture. And then she rejoined us. She was wonderful. She was on her way to a meeting. She let us take up about 15 to 20 minutes of her time. And again, she was just absolutely lovely. So, again, stay tuned for information about that visit and some of the programming that's available at Howard University, um, located in the heart of Washington, D.C. Now, I'm always trying to get people to connect because I think it's important that we are connected and paying attention. And there are other ways to connect with me. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, but I'm also on LinkedIn. So I'd love for those of you out there, pull up your phone and click on this QR code and connect with me on LinkedIn. Now, remember, some LinkedIn protocols, a little bit of etiquette on LinkedIn. If you are wanting to connect with someone on LinkedIn, don't just hit the connect button. It gives you the opportunity to add a personalized note. So I would love it that if you choose to connect with me on LinkedIn because you watch this particular session, in the note say, hey, I watched you doing the session on updates on the UNC system, and I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. Because I like to know, how do people know me? Why are people connecting with me? So again, love to connect with you on LinkedIn. So that's the QR code, and you can connect with me there. And that is it for this evening, folks. So again, look at that report, see what it says, read all the sections, because I just pulled out the information about out-of-state enrollment because I thought with so many people interested in the UNC system, they need to know the changes that are coming up for next school year. And don't forget, remember, ask yourself every day, what are you grateful for this day? And what are you doing for self-care? How are you taking care of yourself? That's so important. I thank you all so much for coming in, paying attention. And if you feel so moved, I'd love for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find it, it's Dr. B, and you'll see Steps to the Future. You can go to bit.ly/stepcc, and it'll take you right to it, or you can just do a Google search on YouTube. Also, if you choose to do so, you can subscribe to my monthly newsletter. I will not spam you. I send out the newsletter, it's like once a month. I don't send multiple messages because if you're like me, I get a little irritated when I get daily messages, with newsletters or information. It's like, okay, I can only read so much, so be cool. And if you also want to connect with me, send me an email, drb@stepstothefuture.com. I also want to remind people that are local to the area, there is an HBCU college fair coming up this month. It's the 6th annual college fair, held here at the Smith Recreation Center from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. For people who aren't familiar with where the Smith Recreation Center is, it's directly across the street from Fayetteville State University. So you can come out, talk with admission officers. You can hear from current college students. You can learn about local scholarship opportunities. You can attend some engaging college seminars to learn more about colleges. Some of the colleges may be offering on-site admission, so this is directed at seniors. So if you can, bring an unofficial transcript with you, because that might be something to help you out. And if you have further questions, you can contact the coordinator of the college fair, Mark Yarborough, and that is his email there. So I will be there from Steps to the Future. So I hope you come by my table, talk, get some information about college. And oh, one of the things I will be doing, because again, I think it's so important that people are reading. I will have some selection of books with me where if you sign up for the newsletter, you will be able to choose a book of your choice from the offerings on the table. So I hope you show up there, and it will be so great to see you on April 22nd at the HBCU College Fair at the Smith Recreation Center starting at 10 a.m. So take care, everyone. Stay tuned. I'm getting back on track with regular Mondays. There were a couple of family personal things going on, so I stepped back a little bit. So again, see you next Monday, and take care, everyone. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day either to watch this live or to watch it on the replay. Take care and be good.